Okay, I'm sorry about that. It seems like it's going to be a very internet. This is going to be a highly edited re-edit, but okay. So we're going to continue on. So as I was saying, through the self-evaluation, I found out that my perspective was incorrect. So let's talk about how this happens, and I have to say a special thank you to Natalie, one of my coworkers, who, when we were comparing our aches and pains, um, brought this up to me. And she just simply mentioned it's like being a teenager all over again. And at first I was like, huh? Because as a teenager, if you look back in time, you think you glorify the teenage years when we're adolescents and we're growing. But it was also a painful time. We just had that mentality is I could get through anything and I am invincible. And for some reason, during this, I call it personally the second adolescence, we are not so gung ho about getting through and fighting through the pains. Matter of fact, we take a defeatist attitude, which is the mindset we have to change. I thought about it as a teenage female growing up. We go through the aches and pains of going through our first cycle, going through the aches and pains of our bones and our bodies trying to fit into the growing process. We did have aches and pains down to our bones, but it wasn't, it didn't bring us to the point of, oh, I just can't take this anymore. We were like, I'm going to fight through this. And that's the attitude we have to take. Be careful where you wish for. Why did I name it that? Because during our late 20s, I would say about up until this point, we are always saying, I wish I could go back to that time when I was a teenager and I was invincible. And when we make that wish, we forget it was a painful, physically and mentally, a painful time. We just had the attitude back then of, I could get through this and nothing's going to stop me. I know everything. Now, I have to admit, we still have the attitude as I know everything and I've experienced everything, which is not true. We have a lot we haven't experienced, and this is a reminder, the aches and pains. The difference is when we were teenagers, when we had our aches and pains, we had our parents who had the wonderful foresight and took the responsibility of taking us to the doctor when we had these aches and pains to get diagnosed. This is what you need to do. We were also more physically active. We were part of the track team. We were part of the football team. We were part of the baseball team. We were part of so many different things that we were active. We would go for a walk. Well, if you're my age, we are Generation X, and there was no such thing as sitting at home playing video games and watching TV all day. So I'm speaking from that angle. Nowadays, not so much, but we need to stay active. What can we do? First thing we have to do, and this is difficult, and this was very difficult for me. We need to accept the fact that we're getting older. We need to accept the fact that we can't go back to our 20s. Although my significant other usually hear me say, I wish I could go back to that time. We can't go back to our 30s and we can't go back to our 40s. This is the card we're dealt. This is what we've done. And this is what we have to deal with. That is the first process of accepting the second adolescent stage that we're going through. And it is a second adolescent stage. And then most people say, why would you say that? Because you hit that point, this point in life, the first thought process, the first thing you say is, I don't want to go through this. I don't want it to be like this. And I hate to say it, the cards have been dealt. There's no turning back. I don't want to, coulda, shoulda, will not apply. Hate to say it. But we can turn this to our advantage. We could look this as, this is my second adolescence. I'm being a teenager again. And I'm more wiser at this point. I'm at the point where I know what I've been through. I have more knowledge to work off of through this growing process than before. Now, there's no way you're going to know what's ahead. That's beside the point. But what made me giddy and laugh inside is that I'm a teenager again, but I'm in my 50s. And as a woman, I'm going to say, I'm going through a process of, I'm getting what I wish for. I wish my cycle would have ended. This is why children aren't allowed to speak in this view this, because I'm speaking on that. Men don't have to go through the voice change and what you go through your adolescence. We know what we've been through. We know what steps we've taken. And I think people who end up being successful from this point of their life on, like what's the guy who Colonel Sanders? I don't know his real name. The one who invented KFC. He hit this point in his life. This is around the time of his life where he was able to make success in his life. It was because he changed his mind frame. Oh, I'm going through my second adolescence. Yes, I have the aches and pains. Yes, this is something you can't stop this. You can't stop the change. You can't stop it. So go with the flow like we did when we were teenagers. We endured and we did what we have to. But we have one advantage that we did not have back then, and that's experience of life. My experience is different from your experience, but you experience life. And to a point, you know what to do. If you've been you're a responsible adult, because let's be honest, we always try to be youthful. We are childish by nature. You know to go to the doctor. If you don't go on the doctor on a regular basis, I suggest this is a good time to start. Yes, we're not on the track team. We're not in high school, although some people do feel like they're working in high school. So we got to do extracurricular activities. We're not in school. So that doesn't mean we can't learn. Matter of fact, you take control of your education from here on out. Let me explain. One of the fears we have at this point is dementia. But I feel, personal opinion, not a medical doctor, I feel if you educate yourself, how do you educate yourself? Take a class. Can't take a class? Read a book. Find a subject you want to learn about, read about it. I've been doing that for the last couple of months, and I'm starting to retain stuff more often. I know money's maybe tight at this point in time in life, but if there's a certification that you want to take, read the books to get that certification, or take the class, take the certification. It may or may not come handy. There's a hobby you always wanted to get into. And I specifically say hobby because these are something you have to have your heart into. If we go back to our first adolescence, we put our heart into our extracurricular activities, whether it was physical activities so you could get a scholarship, or academic activities so you could get that grade to get a scholarship. We have to find that topic, that choice, that that one item that will make you feel youthful again, so you could keep doing it. The aches and pains become lessened, but we're going to talk about how to take care of that in a minute. They lessen a bit. Also, you will keep doing it even when you don't want to do it, but you have a choice this time around. Second adolescence is not that bad. I tell you, it's kind of quite fun because you choose what you focus your energy on instead of being told you have to focus on this to get here in your life. You have gotten to where you are right now in your second adolescence by the choices you made and what you focused on. But now you have a choice. Yes, we still have to, we have to pay our taxes, we have to pay our bills, we have to move forward with that. But you have, during the second adolescence, to refocus on what you like to do. I met several people who are older than me that have hobbies that honestly actually make me giddy and jealous. I think someone is in their 60s and they cycle. Matter of fact, one of the people I take the train every morning to go to work, they cycle from where we get dropped off on our train to work, which is near my job, and it takes them 20 minutes. And they're older than me, they're more fit than me, and they have that vigor every day, rain, shine, snow. They are on that bike. That's motivation for me. Second adolescence. Last time I was on a bike, I was a teenager. Biking is not my thing due to back pain, but I could start exercising again. I got to get moving again. I got to get walking again. When you were on your first adolescence, that was nothing. I remember it was 10 miles from my high school to my house. And I used to love taking that walk. It took me some time, but from school to home. When I wasn't I used to be on the track team. So when I didn't have track practice, or we were on our break or something like that, that walk was like the best thing ever. And your mind's going, and you're enjoying the sights and everything else. Now I'm speaking on a local level of what we do as adolescents, but during our second adolescence, it goes a bit further. If you have the time, taking vacation. This is the time we waited for vacation at our age, unless you had a super duper job that could help you during your 30s and 40s to go on vacation every so often. We glorify the first adolescence that we went through, but we were limited on what we could do, what we could spend our time on, and what we could focus on. Now that we're going through our second adolescence, and I'm always going to say this is the second adolescence because after my perspective was changed in this, I realized I could either boo-hoo about my aches and pains, which this morning was a little rough for me, I'm going to admit, getting up, moving around was not as easy. But once I got moving, I feel I have a whole list of things I'm going to take care of. Probably do some more filming on the gardening part aspect of this channel. But now that where I thought I just had no choice but to lie in bed, I moved around, exercise a little, twist and turn, a little bit more effort. And now I'm ready to zoom into my day. Second adolescence. But here we have one, the wisdom, and you do have the wisdom of your personal experience. And the door has wide open for you of what you can do, which is endless. You're not limited to your age during this adolescence period. You're not limited by not knowing. And we do have a whole life ahead of us, God willing, that we could make it through each day. But you have your whole life ahead of you, but you have more freedom to do what you want to do. What do I mean by that? You want to go on vacation, it's in your hands. You want to visit, as long as it's safe, that exotic place you always wanted to visit to. You have the means to do it. You have the means to run a marathon if you want. You just got to take the preparation. We are wise enough. Yes, we're not at the age where we could just pop up in our teenage years. If you weren't obese too much, and I have to say, if you weren't obese too much, because I thought I was obese, but I look back at my pictures when I was younger, and no, I wasn't obese, and I was on the track team, so I could do physical things. But the thought of running a marathon, and no, that's not one of my wishes. I'm just using that as an example because I just couldn't do it, and I admit that to myself. But there may be someone out there who wants to run a marathon. You've always wanted to run a marathon, and start doing the practice. I used to work with a person who was bigger, and they decided one year, probably they were older than me, so I don't know how old they were when they made this decision, but I have a feeling it was up there during the change. And in a year, they put themselves on a regiment, and they actually ran the New York Marathon. And I felt happy. They gave me hope. Now I was maybe late 30s, early 40s when I encountered this person, and I was like, I could do this. I'm not worried about getting old. And then I turned old, and then menopause hit. I'm sorry, perimenopause hit. And everything that I have done wrong to my body in life has took effect. But that doesn't end with that. My denial in accepting this aging process doesn't help the aches and pains. But my acceptance has made it easier to get up in the morning. Yes, some of us were used to getting 4 or 5 hours sleep a day, and then you could pop up. I reminisce of the days where I used to, where I used to just go and party starting Friday night, knowing that I have a 12-hour shift on that Saturday, not even going to sleep that Friday night, going straight from where I'm partying right into work, working my 12-hour shift, and then going out to party again. Those days are gone. Let's accept that fact, glorify those days, reminisce in those days, but accept the fact that it's not coming back. If you need a couple of more hours to go to sleep, if that means going to bed at 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock at night, go to bed at 8 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 7:30 at night. You'll wake up fresh in the next morning, and it's a new day. You get more done. Once you accept those facts, your new adolescence phase starts, and you focus on what you need to focus. I'm a teenager again, as you can see. I am embracing this teenage, but I am also accepting the fact that I am aging. I am a teenager that is more wiser at this time. I'm not elderly. I'm not going to sit down and boohoo, whine, and cry, which was what I was doing, self evaluation. And I'm going to enjoy this stage of life because, unlike when you're an adolescent, going through your first adolescent stage, you don't have the wonderful memories, whether good or bad. They're still wonderful memories because the bad ones you learn from. And that's the key point. The bad ones you learn from, and you apply with your lessons, and you're able to react better moving forward. Now, let's talk about easing the pains because you really can't avoid the aches and pains. You could take precautions. I'm all over YouTube watching on how to stretch out my back, what I can do, um, what medical advances have been made to help with easing those things, um, down to the position of sleep. But I also do one key thing. I talk to my primary physician. I go see my doctor. Mommy and daddy can't set up my appointments anymore. So it's up to me to make sure. Another key thing you can do, which is totally opposite from your initial first adolescence. Most people's not going to like this, but you can't eat everything. You back in the day, you used to be basically a garbage disposal. There was nothing that would have, unless you had allergies, there was nothing that could have a negative effect on you. If you want to enjoy this new stage of your life, your eating habits have to change to accommodate the way your body has changed. Now, in general, people say you're supposed to eat XYZ. I'm not a nutritionist. I'm not a doctor. I can't tell you what will work for you. But you could talk to your primary doctor about this. And if you haven't already, you can also talk to a nutritionist who knows what foods would help you at this stage of your life. Now that I have to admit, this is something that I have not done yet, um, because I do a lot of reading myself. So, what I'm going to share with you is my personal experience, and it is not a medical suggestion for everybody. Use your discernment on this particular thing. Now, I have started eating more food that helps my gut. Gut health is important. Uh, I've started trying to drink more ginger or eating more ginger fruit only because it helps with, as you can see, I look bloated right now. And that's part of because I've been bad this past week and I haven't been eating correctly. I know personally what food works with me or not. So, that being said, there are certain foods we just don't want to give up, and we'll take one for the team and just deal with what we have to deal with. One of the things I have is I love tomatoes. But I have as I grew up in life, tomatoes don't like me so much. We don't have such a great relationship. But I found a little trick that works. So those of you who like tomatoes, who like pizza too much, and I have to talk about that as well. I've learned if I use tomato sauce, if I put just a little bit of sugar in it, it cuts the effects for my acid reflux. If you suffer from acid reflux, first thing I'm going to say at our age, go see a doctor, because it could be something more. And if it's not detected early enough and not taken care of, it could get worse. So although I'm sharing what works for me, please see a doctor when it comes to your health, when it comes to physical things. Some doctors don't support the natural way of eating. Sometimes you have to shop around. Some doctors don't support chiropractors. My doctor doesn't support chiropractors, and I take their suggestion under advisement. I go to chiropractors. And for a while there, when I was going consistently enough, it did do some relief. But that's each person is a case by case basis. Oh, I said I was going to talk about the pizza, particularly the cheese part. All right. I love my milk, hence the bloatness, and I love my cheese. I don't know of any alternatives for them yet to take care of them. So I, instead of gorging myself like I would in my first teenage stage, I limit, except for this past week, I limit my intake of milk and cheese and anything lactose. I am going more the natural route. I'll speak about that when I start speaking about homesteading, so I won't bring that up. But that's something to keep in mind. Now, if you like milk so much and you don't want to give it up like me, there are alternatives. Cow's milk has a certain effect on me, but I also like goat milk. Matter of fact, I like goat milk so much, if it wasn't so expensive here in New York, I'd probably buy that by the gallon instead of the cow's milk. But unfortunately, I don't have those type of funds, so I use that sparingly. Another option is, and you would have to experiment to see which one works for you. I would say almond milk or oat milk. I didn't say soy milk specifically for a reason. I was informed and I've learned that it's not exactly wise to ingest a lot of soy when going through the change. Do your own research, your own investigation, and decide yourself. Now, that's with the milk. And I've also found that when you have your own garden, growing your own food, making your own cheese, which I'm trying to perfect. That's why I don't. It's a little bit harder, but you could do that and help with the process if you are a cheese fanatic like me and milk fanatic like me, that would help. This is your motivation within your second adolescence. You've been given a second chance of being a teenager with the knowledge that you have in the years leading up to this, with the experience you've gone through. As long as you take the proper precautions, you do what you're supposed to do. If that means you sit at a desk and you get stiff like I normally do, if you sit too long, get up and do some desk stretches. I had a wonderful older colleague of mine give out to everybody in our department exercises you could do. A lot of my colleagues go to the gym during lunch if you can. If you can do that. If not, watch what you eat. Pack your lunch. We are kids again. Get a nice, cute little temperature controlled lunchbox and take it with you to work. You get to choose what you do. You get to save money for that vacation you want to do and do all those crazy things you wanted to do. Jet ski, what's that thing when you the boat takes you and you I think it's parachuting or something like that. You have to view this as your second chance of life again. Basically, that's it. I took that in my mid 40s and I started working out every day. I took Muay Thai. I actually got a personal trainer and I got to the size that I never thought was possible. And I'm holding on to that at this point because I know what I have to do. I have to stretch out, be cautious of the pain, and start working out again. YouTube has YouTube online. It's not just YouTube. A lot of people have exercises you could do. Get up an hour early, make a healthy breakfast. Try to stay away from fried food too much. I'm not giving up my bacon, so I have my bacon every couple of weeks. You could enjoy this, and this can be truly your golden age. Your second adolescence is the golden ages that you're going to go through. So I hope that I've encouraged you during this time. If you are watching this and you are going through the aging process, actually, aging process, whether you are here at it or you're leading up to it, which we all are, let's be honest, think about how do you want to spend your second adolescence? What do you want to do to make this more memorable, within reason, than your first adolescence? No, we're not going to join the track meet. Well, you can, depending. There are, things out there depending on where you are. What do you want to learn? What skill you want to learn? What experience do you want to have? And then see if you can make it come true. What steps you have to take. This is a fun thing because this is what you want to do for fun. This is what you want to do to have memory. So when you are in your 80s and 90s, you could sit there and be like, those people thought in their 50s they were done. And here, I did this in my 50s. I did this in my 60s. And I think I'm going to do this in my 70s, 80s. Take a dance lesson. Go to dance class. Learn tango, merengue, salsa. The possibilities are endless. We have hit our second youth. Please go out and enjoy. And I ask, if you like this video, please click the like button. If you want to see more of the weekly charge ups and what else I have coming up with the talks, interviews, and reviews, subscribe. You'll be alerted every time. And if you know someone who needs to hear this, especially if they're going through a difficult time during this process of transition from their, how can I say, midlife to golden age, please share. Until next time.